Anyway, Dominique, have you ever tried to get something accomplished, but kept you kept getting hijacked by life and circumstances? Dom will share a story about the time she tried to do the simplest task, and it turned out to be a major production. Although the English expression "where there's a will, there's a way" might fit well as a title, Dom thought the Spanish translation was appropriate and just a little more pithy. Here we go. Querer es poder. Anyway, to want is to be able. Dominique is a 10-year Toastmaster, a DTM QS. She is a recipient of the Penny Cole Award and is presented at TLI and is a longtime officer of several long-suffering clubs. I don't know whose fault that is, but it's glad that you stuck in with them. Anyway, Dom's favorite Toastmaster expression is never not be working on your next speech. We'll go back to where there's a will, there's a way. Dominique Fruchtman.
Thank you, Tom. I used to live on the corner of some streets with colorful Spanish names like Calle de los Arboles and Paso de las Tortugas. Isn't it funny how something in Spanish that sounds so fancy, like Calle de los Arboles, is really nothing more than Tree Street, and Paso de las Tortugas is nothing more than Turtle Pass? Well, the name of this speech was going to be Where There's a Will, There's a Way, but I decided to go with the Spanish translation for that phrase, which is Querer es poder, which means to want is to be able. I will now share a story of my want and ability that I hope will inspire you the next time you feel like life is throwing rocks in your path. My birthday was back in July, and for those of you who were here last Speakers Bureau 4th of July when we did the Speak-a-thon, you may remember my speech called Summer of '69, where I explained that I am no longer obsessed with needing to feel important on my birthday. I'm over it. It's a thing of the past. Apparently though, not everybody got the memo. This July, on my birthday, 9 people or groups of people went out of their way to make me feel special on my birthday this year. At least 5 of them made personal trips to my house to drop things at the door. 2 were professionally delivered, and 2 arrived by mail. Wow, what a haul. I did feel special. Since things have been a little rough for the last couple months with my business being closed since March, it really did brighten my day. Then the reality sank in. I was not given 9 gifts. I was given 9 obligations to write thank you notes. Oh. Well, I gave myself 2 days to enjoy all my gifts and bask in the feeling of so many people going out of their way to make me feel special. Then I got down to business because this was about to become a part-time job. Step 1, go on Amazon, order a 25-pack card, a bunch of thank you cards like this, blank on the inside. That felt like a huge accomplishment, but more than that, it bought me another 2 days of procrastination. Once the cards arrived, I made a list of everyone I needed to write thank you cards for, and slowly, painstakingly started gathering their physical addresses. I reached out to these 9 individuals by a combination of text, email, phone calls. This took about 36 hours, a lot longer than I thought. I got a little pushback from some people who were reluctant to give up their addresses. My employee, Emily, for example, who had sent me an edible arrangement on behalf of the rest of my staff, asked why I wanted to know her address and demanded to know if she was in trouble. I had to explain to her that I was home and didn't have access to the employee files. Plus, I told her, Emily, you're furloughed and you still managed to remember the boss's birthday. What kind of trouble could you possibly be in? I told her to relax. I was just writing her a thank you card. She did give up the address. Finally, everything was in order. I had the thank you cards. I found my lucky pen. I had addressed all of the envelopes in advance. Now, all I had to do was the easy part. Write the cards. I should mention by now that 10 entire days had gone by since my actual birthday, and I was out of time. If I waited any longer, people would receive the card and be asking themselves, thank you for what again? So it was do or die. The cards would be written and mailed before midnight that night, come hell or high water. I made myself this promise. That morning, I had arranged to get new tires for my husband's car at the Costco Tire Center. I was so clever, I figured this was the perfect time to write the cards. I'll just hand over the car to the Costco tire people. I'll write the cards while I'm waiting for my husband's car to be done and take care of both things at once. So I got dressed. I put on sunscreen because it was 115 that day. I put on my mask and I went to Costco. Drove to the tire center, hand the keys to the guy behind the counter, and he says, great, we'll call you in 90 minutes when it's done. And I said, perfect. And I looked around, and in the tire center, there were no seats. And I said, can I wait here? He said, well, of course, we don't allow indoor seating due to the pandemic, but there's a bench outside. And I said, outside, where it's 1:15. He said, yep, it's all yours. See you in 90 minutes. And as he walked away, he shouted over his shoulder, you can always go to Costco. So that was an option. I walked over to Costco, kicking myself, realizing I had not thought this through one bit, had I? The pandemic. There's nowhere to sit. Nothing's open indoors in California right now. Anywhere. I had no cool air-conditioned car to sit in either. It was a major oops. Well, I went inside Costco. I glanced over at the snack area. All the tables and chairs had been stacked on top of each other, and the area cordoned off with yellow tape. It looked like a crime scene. It looked like something out of CSI. It said, do not enter. So there was no hanging out there. I couldn't exactly grab a shopping cart and write thank you notes up and down the aisles, could I? So this was life's first rock that it threw at me, and it was a pretty decent sized rock. It would have been so easy for me to just say to myself, oh, well, can't do it. Nowhere to write, and grab a hot dog or pizza slice and blow off the whole project. But no. Querer es poder. To want is to be able. Then I had a stroke of genius. I headed to the ladies' room. I got lucky. It was totally empty, spotlessly clean, and it smelled like a daisy. I took a chance because there were two handicap stalls, one big one and one smaller one. I went to the smaller of the two handicap stalls and I locked myself in. I was hoping that for karma's sake, if anyone came in that needed the handicap stall, they could get by with the bigger one. To be honest, I felt a little mentally handicapped myself at that moment and 100% entitled to that stall. So I sat down on the toilet with my clothes on. It was just nice to sit down at that point. And I got to work writing. I wrote 3 cards. After 30 minutes, my legs started falling asleep. I put everything back in my purse, came out of the stall, washed my hands. Nobody there. So I went back into another stall, a few down. This one was smaller, not as roomy as the other one. A definite downgrade. This kind of felt like going from first class to coach in an airplane. But before long, I was lost in the task of writing again. People came and went from the restroom. I heard chatter and the water running. I didn't care. I wrote 3 more cards and another 30 minutes passed. I know this because the tingling in my numb legs let me know it was time to move again. So I came out, washed my hands again, looked around, still had the place to myself. So I went back to my home base, my second largest handicap stall, the original stall I started in. It was so nice to be back, so roomy in there. I was on the move frequently, you see, because the Costco staff was in and out a lot, cleaning, and I didn't want anybody to see feet underneath for 90 whole minutes straight and think that I had died in there and call the police. Well, on this 3rd round, I had finished 2.5 cards when I got the phone call. Your car's ready. I told the guy I'd be there soon, and I finished that last card. Whew. 9 cards in 90 minutes. Now, for those of you who are not strong with math, that's 1 card every 10 minutes. As an aside, when I write a thank you card, it's not just thanks for the crap you sent me, see you next year. No, indeed. I write epic thank you cards. I've had people tell me that they've saved my cards for years or forever. So you see why I needed so much quiet time to concentrate on the task. These cards are works of art and cannot be rushed. But now that they were all done, all I had to do was mail them. Well, by the time I got home, I was hot and tired. I grabbed some lunch. By then it was 3 p.m. So I lay down for a very short nap and woke up at 8:30 p.m. Well, I still had to mail the cards. I made myself a promise, right? So I went to get some stamps. There were 4 stamps in the drawer. Rock number 2. How easy would it have been for me to say, oh, I'll get stamps at some point and blow it off for another week or 2. But no, 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 no. Querer es poder. To want is to be able. So I got dressed again, put on shoes, and drove to Stater Brothers to buy stamps. They closed at 9 p.m. There was 1 register left open. Because they were getting ready to close, I ran over there. I have some stamps. Sorry, we don't have stamps. This is the last register. We're about to close. Perfect. Rock number 3. I said, no problem. Home was right around the corner. I live across the street from a Stater Brothers. You know how easy it would have been to just say, what's the rush? I can come first thing in the morning and buy stamps. But you know what? First thing in the morning never happens. I probably would have delayed for days or weeks, forgotten all about them. Besides, I made myself a promise. I had taken a nap, and now I was paying the price. So rock number 4 could kiss my ass. I knocked it out of the way and went to 7-Eleven. You know why? Because Google said 7-Eleven carried stamps. Perfect. No stamps at 7-Eleven. And furthermore, the guy behind the counter was so creepy, he looked like he was there to rob the place and not run it. Where are we? Rock number 5? By now, it was 9:30. What the heck is open this late that would carry stamps? The lobby at the post office isn't open anymore where you can get them from the stamp ATM. They don't leave that available anymore 24 hours like they used to. But I was going to get these mailed tonight without fail. I was on my way home pretty despondent, but I drove by a Circle K. Circle K! It's kind of the unbranded 7-Eleven, right? I go in. Do you have stamps? Yes, they have stamps. Perfect. But it was kind of a good news, bad news thing. Yes, they have the stamps, but they're only selling them one at a time because they are illegally marking them up by 20 cents per stamp. You see, a retail store is not supposed to mark up postage, but they were. I can't stand it when a legit business pulls shady crap like this. It's a real problem for me. However, my time for ethics was over. I caved in and told the guy, give me 10 stamps, $7.50 for $5.50 worth of stamps. I don't even care. So I overpaid for these black market stamps. I put 5 stamps on the remaining envelopes I needed and kept the other 5 so I'd have some extras back home. Finally, when I went to mail the thank you cards, I couldn't help noticing that there was an empty space where my favorite blue mailbox used to be. I guess the post office has been removing these things due to their infinite wisdom and low volume. Okay, flip a U-turn off to the 92234 post office at 11 p.m. to mail them. Luckily, there's still a blue mailbox at the post office. Whew. It was done at last. But how many opportunities were there for me to say, I can't do this, I'm done? The first most obvious would have been when there was nowhere to sit and write the cards. The second, when I had no stamps. The third, when I made an offer to buy stamps and couldn't find any. I wasn't going to let it stop me. I didn't care if I had to drive clear up and down Riverside County all freaking night until 3 in the morning until I found stamps. I was going to get this done. It's almost like it became a game, like a challenge from the universe. You keep throwing rocks in my way, and I'll keep throwing them back at you. How about that? This leads me to the moral of the story. You don't stop when you're tired. You stop when you're finished. I challenge all of you, the next time that life throws a rock in your path, kick it out of the way. If it's a big rock, find a crowbar and pry it out of the way. Just don't let it stop you. And the next time you're at Costco, glance over at the restrooms. I might just be in there in the smaller of the 2 handicap stalls, writing another batch of cards. Think of me driving to not 1, not 2, but 3 places and overpaying for contraband postage stamps to get these things mailed. Yes, this is a trivial example of how to get something done, but you know what? Querer es poder. To want is to be able. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you.